So in the winter months, and as it starts to get a little bit cold, and the water starts to clear, I like to use brighter baits or brighter baits. So I've made up some white cell here, and what I normally do as well is I make them up about 18-20 mil, and then as I air dry them, they slowly get smaller, not too much smaller, but now these are around about 16 mil, and they're wafters, boosted cell. So they're wafters. As you can see, half is like a pop-up mix, the other half is like a bottom base mix. Really easy to make, and really effective. I've had lots of my bigger fish in the colder months on slightly bigger rook baits. Just something to think about. So I thought I'd just come down for the morning and just managed this little common, not particularly big, but it's a bite, and we are just heading into December. It's actually the end of November. I think it's the 30th today, or 31st today. So it's quite a nice little common to have at £20, 12 ounces. Definitely one for the future, and I'm really pleased to have this bite on a really cold day. 6 degrees, not great, and cold in the night, and I noted a few fish moving around a particular area the other night, and so I thought I'd come back in the mornings and see if they're still here. But anyway, so I managed to nab this one, and yeah, lovely common, and I'm going to slip him back. So yeah, I had this one on the on my head rotator rig, which is been catching me so many fish all through the year. It's definitely one of those rigs that I've got loads of confidence in now, so always going to go back to that from now on. And yeah, I'm going to slip him back, get the rod back out. I've got a few more hours, I've got to be off to work, so you never know, might nick another one. It's the smallest one I've had so far, but they're lovely fish, they all can. Thanks, mate. So I've not been here long, but I've done a lot of walking around, more walking around to be fair than actually fishing, but over the course of a few weeks. So just to keep my eye on what's happening, and rods ain't been out long. I've just had this 33.9, absolutely made up with this. We are on, I think, the 7th of December. It's a full moon tonight, and I'm going to hold on tonight because you never know. Big gill might trip up. Anyway, absolutely pleased with this. There's a bit more water in there. As I say, always keep them wet because they just look really nice. Not only does it help them, but they look really nice when you take a photo of them. Nice and shiny. Look at that, 33.9, absolute brute of a December carp. And that's what it's all about. I'm not going to bother flipping her over because she is a stunner. Thank you very much. So the temperatures really started to dip and things got quite difficult. It was all about spotting those telltale signs, those little tiny signs, and making the most of any situation that I come across, really. But really enjoyed my fishing, and I just carried on soldiering through. as in gaining information on a venue. One of the, you know, like I say, one of the best things you can possibly do is to come round and do a bit of homework, walk round and watch the venue and just see for any signs, and note it down, you know. So everything I see, I note it down in my iPhone, put it down on my phone, in my notes. I mark down everything that I see, what times, whereabouts, you know, what they were, what activity, and go from there, and just trying to build a picture up on what I'm seeing. So that's a good tip and a good thing to think about. So January was a real cold January. I think the second week of January it was really cold with some really heavy frosts. As you can see, most things were kind of like frozen in ice. It was that cold. And luckily the lake didn't freeze over, but the temperatures were still, you know, real minus temperatures. Suddenly we had this kind of burst of sun and a little bit of low pressure, and the frost dissolved, and the fish kind of like almost sort of, there was almost this switch which turned the fish on, and suddenly they wanted to feed. Tad under £30, £29.11. Size don't matter. Some lovely old fish, and I'm just really pleased to have this. Absolutely made up. Hard work pays. Bang in January common, and I'm going to slip it back. Thank you very much. At the time, let them rest up in the retainer for a little bit before you feel their tails kick, and then slowly let them go. Thank you, mate. Just had this absolute beast of a common carp, at £34, 8 ounces. Absolute beast. I am absolutely buzzing. I can't tell you how pleased I am. All the hard work's paying off, and I've just been angling, you know, literally just been angling. That's all I've been doing. I've not been going crazy with bait or anything like that. Made some homemade hook baits, and yeah, been catching them on them. So really pleased to have this one. But I'm not going to keep them out. I'm going to stick it back. 38.8, that'll do me. Sorry, 34.8, and get carried away. That'll do me for the night. Thank you very much. So the mild weather continued for some time. Down came the rain, wet, miserable, muddy, but great conditions for catching carp in winter. It couldn't have been any better, to be quite honest with you. Although uncomfortable, packing up in the rain, setting up in the rain, it's just what the carp love. So, literally, just about to have something to eat. This one, 34.11, quite a notable fish. Got a little bit of its load missing at the top there, but cracking fish. I'm not going to keep her that long. Had some photos, but I'm going to slip her back. Really pleased. Then the dreaded frost came back with an absolute vengeance. Proper minus temperatures just about ruined it. So give me a chance to move on and fish some other places for a while. So I've got a night ahead of me. I might stay for one night, I'm not too sure. If I can do two, I'll do two. It depends what happens with my work. But if I can nick another night, then I might well do that. Got complete luxury here. Never stayed anything like this before, so I'm pretty sure it'd be amazing. Some amazing fish. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting the rods out. Now, we've got a bit of a northerly wind. It's not going to be very strong, but it's a little bit of a wind. And this time of year, as they're starting to sort of like move around a little bit, although it's still cold, they are slowly starting to come out of winter and into spring, although we're still in winter. I would sometimes favour a little bit of a trickle like this, because when it's flat calm, it can be really tricky to try and find them. But when you've got a little bit of a trickle on it like this coming in here, it's often, you know, it can often pay dividends. So sometimes in the winter, this is sort of swim that I would choose, where it's got a little bit of wind. Also, as you can just see out there, there's like a little mannequin that we've got out there, and that is a kind of like jetty which holds carp. Anywhere like that with a bit of cover will hold carp this time of year, so always look for cover. So that's where I'm going to fish. I'm going to stick a couple of rods up there, and then maybe one at the aerator, because you've got an aerator there, which again oxygenates the water fully throughout the winter. Sometimes that can be a good spot to choose. So I'm going to get a couple of rods out there. I'm not going to go crazy with bait. I'm going to do my usual winter trick, which is like 2 spoms of 10mm cell over each rod. That's plenty, but I'm going to make sure that they're glugged up in loads of smart liquid. I might add some pellet to that actually, because these are quite sort of like, they're not young fish, but they're juvenile fish, as in not particularly experienced, and this type of carp have been brought up on pellet, so it'd be stupid not to use or utilise pellet in some respects. So that's what I'm going to try. Probably mix that with a bit of boilie. Yeah, but loads of smart liquid in there. You know, don't worry about overdoing it. Loads of smart liquid in there to get that liquid attraction coming through the water column. It works in both warm and cold water, just as effective. And the fruit smart liquid, like I said before, you cannot do any better than using that stuff. I mean, it's been ridiculous. Really has transformed some of my fishing. So that's what I'm going to use. But yeah, so I'm going to get the rods out, and we'll go from there. So this is a little rundown of the smallest of the accommodation, if you like. Got a little table on here for sort of like putting bait buckets or doing your rigs or whatever you want to do. Then we come into here. Got a barn door, so if you wanted to leave your door open halfway, you could, top or bottom. And then as you come in, you've got another table there, which I've been informed is going to have a fridge in there at some point. So still slight work in progress. Got Wi-Fi, nice bit of decor, proper carpy if you like, proper heating on the walls, oil heating, so that's all electric and that runs constantly, so it's always warm. It's like really warm. As soon as you put your hand there, as soon as you open the door, it's really warm. Then you've got like a nice telly on the wall with Sky in there and all the rest of it. And then if you come down here, there's another kind of cupboard if you like. And under there, you've got your charging points for all your bits and pieces. You've got an LED strip light there, which is really bright. And you've got some plug sockets down there as well for extra power, but that's what runs these. So you won't use those, but that's your charging points there. So you don't even need your battery pack. Yeah, and you've got a strip light here, proper strip light. You can turn that on, the whole place lights up. So you've got lights there as well, and that's run off a little switch as you come in the door. But this is just one of them, like I say, the smallest one, and amazing luxury really for fishing. Lovely. So it wasn't long before I was off the mark, and the first fish was in the net. Found a couple of nice little sort of areas, and yeah, just managed to bag myself this one. Nice little scaly, and we'll get him out and do some photos. Thank you very much on this freezing cold January day. So I got the rods out, but I wasn't really, really happy with where I was. So got up first light, found a couple of nice clear spots out there, slightly firmer spots in the silt, and it wasn't long before middle rod wrapped off with this absolute peach of a fish. That's just under 28 pound. Look at that. How about that? What a peach, eh? Just coming toward the end of January now. It's freezing cold. I can just about feel my fingers, but proof's in the pudding that they're out there to catch. All you got to do is apply yourself correctly. Don't go crazy with a bait, like I say. Small bags, small baits, lots of attraction, and Bob's your uncle. So I'm going to slip him back. The rods are already out. Slip him back and hopefully have another one. Hoo-hoo-hoo! Like I said before, it's always worth noting the times that you have the captures. If whenever you have them, really. 9 times out of 10, carp tend to feed at the same times the next day. So if you are doing a 24-hour session and you've got there in the evening, and you've had a bite the next morning or that evening, whatever time, note that time down, and remember the next day, if you're staying for 24 hours, to try and hold on for that particular time. So I've just had this one at 24 pound, absolute peach of a fish. Really pleased with this one. Another absolute minter of a fish. Lovely colours this time of year. This time of year they're always a little bit darker, and yeah, he was obviously willing to pick up my little bait. But I've had glugged in the sort of like a little bit of smart liquid, mainline smart liquid. The fruit one again, doing the business for me this time of year. They seem to love it this time of year, so that's what you want to get on. And yeah, happy with that. The rods are back out on the spot. With any luck, might nick another one, but I don't really care. I've had 2 really cracking fish at this absolutely gem of a place, and I think it's ready. It's ready to go back. I'm not going to show you the other side mucking around, so I want to get it back. But yeah, really made up. So I'm giving it the last 20 minutes, got the last rod out. I mean, normally I always make a thing of leaving my rods on the deck and packing my alarms away. But in this instant I'm fishing up to a bit of a, not a snag, but a bit of a feature. And I need to know if I've got a bite on that rod or not. Can't risk leaving the clutch loose and maybe getting a bite on that rod. So despite the weather, turned out quite a good little session in the end. Like I say, I was only planning to do a night, but with the luxury and the comfort that we've got here, just ludicrous. And Dan, the owner, said to me, like, if you want to do another night, you're more than welcome. So take up on his offer. I couldn't say no. And yeah, so it's been a couple of really good nights. Well, a couple of decent nights. Very comfortable fishing. Mega comfortable fishing. Don't normally fish like this. I don't think I've ever fished like this, to be honest with you. Even if I've gone to France, I've never had such luxury. So it's been a real experience, and one that I would definitely recommend. So get online and or Facebook or whatever, and get in touch with Dan and book a slot for spring or for summer or even for next winter, whatever. I mean, if you come in the winter, you ain't got to worry about getting cold because it's fully heated. You've got TV in there. It's fantastic. It's amazing. Pucker little place. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to give it another 10 minutes. If I have anything, you'll be able to see it. If I don't, you won't. So I've been kindly invited over to East Delf Lakes, and the rods have been out a couple of hours, and we're just losing a bit of light, just going into dusk, fishing with fairly slack lines over into the margin, and got a nice little scale in the net. Not it's particularly big, probably just about £10, maybe even a little bit bigger, I don't know. We're going to quickly weigh him and have a couple of photos with him, but always welcome the first fish from a new venue. And it's February, so thank you very much. Not been here very long, a few hours, and just losing a little bit of light, fishing up against the margin over the other side there, and yeah, had this lovely little scaly, absolute picture of a fish, isn't it? Look at that, look at the scales, and that's amazing. And the other side's just as amazing. Yeah, my first one from East Delf Lakes, never been before, so really pleased. I'm going to slip him back and hopefully have a couple more. I'm down in this little corner. The wind's blowing in my face now, which is pretty cold to be honest. I'm in a swim called the Bowl of Chalk. When we turned up yesterday, the wind wasn't blowing this way at all. But all the fish, well, I say all the fish, the bites that I've been getting seem to be kind of in this corner, up against that far margin. So, just had a little recast this morning because nothing had happened during the night really. Had a couple of liners. I was kind of worried that I was sitting a bit funny, but anyway, had a bit of a recast, and yeah, within about 40 minutes this one went off with this lovely little scaly, which is just a testament to the fishery, and yeah, they're really coming on really well. I wouldn't mind these all day. I'll slip it back and get the rod back out and maybe have another one. So all I'm doing is bait wise, I'm putting out a mixture of crushed up cell, a few 10 millers in there, a little bit of the house pellet, just a little tiny bit, and some little tiny cell pellet in there as well. And of course, I can't fish without the smart liquid in the winter. It's just like a done thing these days, and it makes so much difference. Like when I first got here yesterday, put a couple of rods out, put a little bit of bait out, but with no smart liquid on, and didn't get a bite. So I brought them in. I knew something weren't quite right. Put some smart liquid on the mix, put it out, and within a few hours had a bite. So I've got so much faith in that smart liquid, it's ridiculous. So that's the mix. Fishing a little yellow pop up over the top, and I'll show you that later. And for this trip, I've been using the old Faithful bait boat, the Hunter 750, and it's behaved admirably as always, and they're just perfect for these types of waters, especially if you want to get sort of like under overhanging trees and stuff like that without, you know, going up into the trees. And if you're not that great a caster, then they definitely help out. But I just find them a bit of a privilege to use every now and again when you can, and like I say, you can get sort of under those trees over there and drop a bait really easy. So they just help out, you know. If you're not that good at casting, then they're a great asset, and they also save the fishery a lot of time in retrieving lines and rigs and stuff that get left up in there. But anyway, yeah, fantastic little thing, and earned me a couple of fish. So rig wise, I've been using a 7-inch length of Sub-Zero hook link tied to a size 6 Apex beak point hook. I'm using my head rotary rig here, which is a play on the standard rotary rig. As you know, it's one of my favourite rigs, and when I come to places like this, I like to use that. I don't think a lot of people really use it, to be fair, especially the head version. And like I've explained before, it just gives that little bit more of a separation between the hook point, or the actual hook, and the bait, as opposed to a swivel. So that's what I've been using. I've been using an inline flat pair out there, 18-pound line straight through. And lead wise, I've been using like a flat inline pair, 18-pound fluorocast straight through. The line's just been fantastic line for me for some time now, and especially in winter. And I find that if you go to places where you can't use leaders, it's been even better because it's so clear running up to the lead. And to complement that, to make it even better, what I do is I have sort of like 4 blobs of putty, each spaced about a foot apart, running from the back of the lead up the line. And then that gives you a kind of like a leader, if you like, or makes sure that you pin that, you know, it makes sure that you pin that bit of line, that section of line down behind the lead, running up to your hook bait. So everything's nice and flat on the bottom. Use an inline pair, a flat one, like I say. And the reason behind that is because I'm fishing out there, a little bit of detritus here and there, and I want to make sure that it's laying on top of it, rather as opposed to a clip, when like normally if you've got a lead with a swivel on it, you know, you can be buried in some of that. But I want to try and lay everything on top of it if I am fishing around a bit of detritus. I found a couple of clear areas out there, but there's a lot of leaf matter, a lot of trees on this venue, which drops a lot of leaves, and that's sort of everywhere. So just to make sure, that's the way I'm fishing, and everything's pinned down. And like I say, I've got that little rig with a little yellow pop-up on there. It's just fishing, it popped up as well, so it's just sitting over everything, and that's what's caught me the last couple of fish. So really pleased with that. Not really got much long left either. Got to be off here by 12, but we've got a couple of hours left, so who knows? You never know. Might get into one of those. So sadly the bigger ones didn't want to play, but that's just the way it goes. We had a great session, and I was actually fishing alongside my good mate Julian Cundiff, and although I didn't get him on camera, I did get him being escorted out of the property by Gabby the Goose, who you'll be able to see in a minute. I will be fishing with him in May again, so I'll make sure I get him on camera. Just had this beauty that's just over £30, 31.12, so I've had it out for a few pictures, really behaving well, and as all the big ones normally do. So I'm going to slip her back and say goodbye. Thank you, mate. So those really cold temperatures of early January, February seemed to be way off in the distant past, and when that sun came up, you started to get a bit of warmth from it, and it was almost like spring was on its way. Like the buds in the trees were starting to come out, and the dawn choruses from the birds in the morning were singing their little hearts out, and you could just tell that things were starting to change. So I wanted to get back down to my winter venue for the last few sessions before it shuts in March. Subsequently, I had a really nice fish just to end the season, which was great. Absolute bruiser of a common at £33 exactly. Absolute peach of a fish, proper character, and one that I've been searching for a little while. Finally. Look at that, shoulders on that. £33. You would be forgiven for thinking this is nearly £40, but £33 of absolute solid common carp. Absolutely buzzing. I'm slipping back. The rods are back out on the spots. So have any luck? Let's have another one. Oh man, what a fish. What a fish.